Forged. Hey, okay, your camera's working. There's a big orange butt in the camera. That's fine. That's what people come
Yeah,
here for.
yeah,
That's why they're here. That's why they're here.
yeah. That's why they're here.
All right. So it's Friday, and we're doing a vodcast. We didn't think we were going to do a vodcast, but I swear I had the date and the time right, but apparently Pirate Weekend doesn't start until tomorrow morning. So we're gonna do a vodcast. What are we gonna talk about in this podcast? We're gonna talk about Pathfinder 2E subsystems. All right. So Dom, what do I mean when I'm saying Pathfinder 2E subsystems? What are we talking about?
Well, because Pathfinder is so very good at categorizing and stuff like that, there actually is a chapter in the new GM core called Chapter 4 Subsystems.
Incredible.
And they have a big list of all their subsystems that they have. So in other words, it's just like kind of mini games and like a collection of smaller rules or combination of existing rules or reflavoring of existing rules to handle certain exploration or certain activities that might come up during a campaign or game or session. I guess they have the list here, which all their subsystems they have.
I'll be honest, I don't own the core GM's guide. I've just been relying on whatever's in Foundry and the old archives of Nethys. So you want to walk us through what are the
I'll walk us through it. So their subsystems. See here. Okay, yeah. Here's they have a little blurb for what they say subsystems are. When your game goes in uncharted territories, or you want to emphasize an element of gameplay that usually gets overlooked or condensed into a single check, you can use a subsystem. As the name implies, subsystems are extensions of the main rule systems that allow you to explore a particular topic or style of play at your table. And so here's the list. They have their victory point system, which is kind of like it's pretty much skill challenge. That's what victory points are. You do one thing, do a check, get a point, and you got to do multiple checks to get enough points to succeed at whatever task your group is doing. And you have many different ways of doing it. The next one is the influence subsystem, which is kind of one of the ones I want to talk about today, because I actually had to learn this one a lot for upcoming Strength 1000 game, because there's a decent amount of being diplomats over there. But hey, and maybe college events. There's the research subsystem, which you have experience with Alkenstar. There's the chase subsystem, which you also have experience with Alkenstar. They have an infiltration subsystem, so when you want to have your group sneak into a place, they have a subsystem for that. A reputation for if there's factions or stuff like that, and you need people to get gain points and earn reputation with different people. They have a dueling for one-on-one duels subsystems, which I also had to. I've recently got into this too. It's actually a pretty cool system. Leadership system. I have no idea how that works. I haven't looked into that one at all. Exploration. So they actually codified how to do exploration in this system. And then vehicles, how to run vehicles. So that's their list. Yeah.
So I am familiar with, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not familiar with all these systems yet, but I am familiar with vehicles, the chases, the research, the influence, and the victory points. So I haven't actually gotten to experience or look into infiltration yet, or duels, or exploration, or leadership. What is exciting for me is that Kingmaker, the biggest and grandest of all campaigns, 900 pages. God damn. 900 pages of adventure. Covers all of these. So I'll have to learn them all. Yeah, I have to learn them all. They're all in there.
Yeah. I think in Strength of Thousands, I think the only one that's not there is actually. I don't think I don't know if the leadership one is. No, the leadership one is not in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But everything and exploration is not in there. So
Okay.
those are only two that are not in Strength of Thousands.
So before we go ahead and say what our favorite one is, I guess it isn't really fair of us to choose our favorite if we haven't at least looked into the others. So should we real quick?
No, you can, you of the ones that you have
Of the
experienced,
ones
what are
we've
your favorite?
experienced? Okay. Fair enough. All
Yeah.
right. So for me, of the ones that I've experienced so far, I would say that Influence has definitely impressed me the most. But here's the thing: my knee-jerk reaction as a second edition born dinosaur, right, is that I hated it. Stupid. So because here's the thing: my first instinct as a former, I don't want to call myself a former Pathfinder hater, but I'll say that I was a former Pathfinder non-enjoyer. How about that? And my first knee-jerk reaction is always, great, more chances to roll dice instead of actually role playing and storytelling, right? Which is a bad attitude, to have, and I'm a little disappointed that that's still in there inside me. That's still like my go-to response to anything that Pathfinder shows me. My first instinct is, oh yeah, more nerd shit, more dice to roll, more tables. Unbelievable. Um my first exposure to Influence, I don't think sold me on it right away. I'm listening to an actual play, an edited actual play, the best kind of actual plays. So hopeful that someday I have the resources to go back and pay somebody to edit all of our actual play series, so that the 4-hour sessions are like an hour and a half long, and the 3-hour sessions are like 45 minutes. It'd be amazing. But I'm listening to an edited actual play, and I'm enjoying it. It's really good. There's not a lot of Pathfinder content out there, so to find a good Pathfinder actual play of the adventure I intend to run was good. It feels good.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the DM is like, yeah, so we're gonna use Influence for all the role playing, like with NPCs. And I was like, all the role playing, like all of it, and then it's tedious, like, to use it for all the role playing, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
Right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a very good sauce, right? That if you put it on the right food in the right amount, chef's kiss. You know what I'm saying? But you can't. It's not Frank's Red Hot. You know what I'm saying? You can't put that shit on everything. Like, you can't be putting no influence system on it. I'm not gonna talk to NPC. If you put an influence encounter on every NPC that I talk to, I'm just not gonna talk to NPCs anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Maybe that's what he wanted.
I don't got time for that shit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, some
well,
of these adventures are like, yeah, this person just wants to fight. There's no
my
talking.
my gut tells me that he did it to create a certain amount of like equity at the table, and then B, they have a small group, so they only have like three players, and so I don't think they have a very good skill spread. So influence system allows you to interact with NPCs in a valuable and rewarding way, even if you dumped charisma and you don't have access to diplomacy, right?
Yeah.
So what I at first was like, ugh, this is so dumb. Like turning role playing into like a dice mini game. I hate that. Like, there's 8 ranks of like friendship or whatever that you can have in a conversation, and I was just like, it's so stupid. Like, I'm the NPC. I'll know if it's going well or not, right? Like, I'll know if it's going well or not. That is, in a way, a slippery slope, right? Because one of the things that Pathfinder 2 design sets out to do, from what I can tell, is to create true equity at the table, right? So like,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if you and the DM are BFFs. It doesn't matter if you and the DM are secretly flirting in DMs outside of the session. It doesn't matter if the DM can't stand you, right? Your relationship with the DM and your chemistry with the DM do not have an impact on how the conversation with your character and that NPC are going to go. Because at the end of the day, it's dice. And
Yep.
there is an elegance and there is a freedom in that design. And I say this as the DM because maybe I've got the coolest kid in the whole world in my group, and they're so suave and they're so charismatic, right? And every NPC they talk to, they are talking through the NPC directly to me, tugging on my heartstrings, playing on my weaknesses to get what they want out of the encounter to befriend and team up every single person they meet, right? And then I just fall for it, right? Because I'm like, man, that player's so cool. I love that so much. And maybe I've got a player that they just rub me the wrong way, right? And no matter what they say or how cool they are when they say it, me personally, I'm like, oof. And then I'm in a situation where I have to be impartial, right? Unbiased, and I have to have that NPC respond 100% not how I want to respond, not how I would instinctively respond, not even how I subconsciously would respond, right? I need to have them respond appropriately to the mechanics in the game, the situation in the game, and what's happening in the game. Having a system like this frees you as the DM, right? Because you can just say, I'm doing whatever the dice tell me to, right? I'm doing whatever the dice tell me to. The dice are the director for this scene. We are still role playing, but we are taking direction from the
Mhm.
dice, not from our guts, not from what I, the DM, think is cool, not from what the players think is cool, but from what kind of scene we can craft from the roll of these dice. So that's the first thing I really like about it, is that you can have a scene where everyone is impartial to the outcome, because we've all agreed that the dice are going to tell this story, and we're going to role play around the story that the dice are telling. And I think that that's a great role playing challenge, and I think that it creates a very fair and equitable place at the table. I think that's great.
Yeah.
The other thing that's good about influence system is if you have a Curse of Strahd game. just hear me out. Just hear me out. If you, let's just say you're running 3 Curse of Strahd games, and in one of the games, Carsophona signed up, and he rolled 4 ones, resulting in a natural 3 for stats, and everyone had to use a 3 on one of their stats, and then Carsophona quit the game and left everybody with those shitty stats. All right, just pretend that you're in a situation like that, okay? Now, in a
All
game,
right.
in a survival horror game, what stat do you think everybody was dumping? Charisma. All right. So they're all dumping charisma, and then let's say that the main bad guy, he's lonely and he likes inviting people over for dinner. So let's just pretend, right? So let's pretend that these low charisma survival horror characters are forced to go to dinner with this man who wants to have a social encounter. But now they can't have a social encounter because they're terrible at that, because they don't have it. Between 5 characters, one person can kind of talk to other people, right? This system covers that, and I think it's amazing. Without too many
Mhm.
spoilers, at the beginning of Kingmaker, there is a big banquet, and the banquet immediately jumps in to an influence challenge. And at first I was doing the prep, and I was like, oh my god, this influence system again. I fucking hate this. But as I was reading it, I was like, this makes a lot of sense. And then as I was reading it, I was like, god damn, I wish I had read this before I ran the Curse of Strahd dinners, because this is exactly the kind of scene that it is for, right? Because
Mhm.
like, because Strahd, again, not a lot of spoilers here, Strahd wants to have dinner, right? Because he wants to get to know the main characters, because That's his weird thing. That's his weird bad guy thing. Is he wants to be intimately familiar with the people who are going to try and kill him. It's how he gets his rocks off, right? So he has everybody over for dinner, but then what do? Do we just role play with no dice and the DM has to decide how it went? I think that's how the majority of those straw dinners get run throughout history.
Yeah.
Or you got super mechanical GM that's like, well, roll me a diplomacy check or persuasion check, and you roll it, and he's like, it was good, and like that's dinner. You know what I'm saying? So like this is like, oh well, Strahd's a former soldier, so if you have military lore, you can use military lore during dinner instead of diplomacy, and it has a different DC. And like, oh yeah, Strahd, he really loves wine, so if you have wine lore, that you could use that. And so there's all these ways that people can be a part of a scene without having to be built for quote unquote social role play. And I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
Another thing too about the system that I really like is that it rewards teamwork.
Yes.
And cooperation. So like the way this system works, you don't know what you can roll to help to support and gain influence like that. You have to do a check to find out. But if you're all like, say in this case, you're at a dinner and you're trying to figure out what this guy likes, no one knows they're a former soldier yet.
Yep.
So this one person, says, okay, I'm actually good at diplomacy.
It's under discover. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm good at diplomacy, and I'm good at perception for insight. So I'll use those two skills to find stuff out, and then he'll talk about it. And then now, hey, we just found out he's a former military person. Hey, fighter over there who's really good at military stuff.
Fighter who's checked out, right? He's checked out because he's like, I get a +2 to my attack rolls. I don't know. That's my identity. That's who I am. Yeah. Like, it's what defines me. Like, I can't help you. But then they're like, wait, former soldier. Oh shit. Hey buddy, you have military lore. This is your moment. Get in here and talk to him. The other thing I love about it is that it's run like a combat.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now listen to me on this one, because this is fantastic. So in the Strahd example, Strahd's polyamorous, he's got many brides, right? It's based on Dracula having 3 brides, blah blah blah, right? So of course you gotta have his wives and his husbando at dinner, right? So you're not just having dinner with Strahd, right? You're having dinner with everybody at the table. But dinner doesn't last forever, right? So you figure out how long is dinner going to be. It's a long thing. There's 5 courses. I guess it's going to be 3 hours long, right? So then you're like, okay, so we'll divide it up into 30-minute blocks. So there's going to be 6 rounds of dinner, right? Or whatever you decide to do. It's a 2-hour meal divided into 15-minute blocks. You got 8 rounds of dinner, right? 8 combat rounds of dinner, right? And then as you're going through, you can only on your turn use influence or discover on one of the other people at the table. And then yes, you can get somebody up to a certain amount of ranks, like maybe like 8 is the most ranks you could get, but if you are trying to get one person to 8, there's a good chance that you didn't get anybody else anywhere, right? Because you put all your effort into trying to max that one person's dinner faction, right? So how it could work mechanically is maybe you only give Strahd the bare minimum, but then you gave one of the brides all your attention. What if now mechanically that bride is willing to help you guys because you won their favor and devotion by singling them out during dinner and just giving them everything you had? Like, there are so many possibilities here other than just the GM makes it up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you could actually craft mechanical encounters that have meaningful rewards and can be equitably attained through gameplay, but you're not sacrificing role-playing. I need to make sure that that's clear. Because you're just changing... This is so important for my fellow 5e players / Pathfinder haters. I need you guys to understand. You are changing the way you roleplay. You are not skipping the role-playing. You are changing the way you roleplay. It is not as free form, right? It's not just friends make believing. You are very much in improv theater land, right? Where you say, "Oh, okay, you discovered that he likes military lore. Okay, so my guy's gonna roll military lore on him," and then the DM looks at the roll and he says, "You did really good. All right, so what did you say?" Now you know that you said something really good. So now you role play that you said something really good. So you're getting cues, you're getting directions of where to steer the role playing. You are still role playing. You're still saying something that your character would say in a way that your character would say it that is meaningful to your character. But it's not as free form as just pulling it out of your butt and just saying something, right? Because now you are getting that direction, right? Maybe you roll and the DM's like, "Ooh, it didn't go too well," and they're like, "I'm gonna hero point it." "Ooh, it's somehow worse." So now you know, like, all right, I'm gonna role play this scene anyways, and you just botch it. You talk about something shameful about your military career, or just, you just role play yourself fumbling through the conversation, or being that 3 charisma socially awkward character, because now you have that direction. And I feel like it's a better way of doing it, especially for people that are new to role playing, because a lot of, I think, the trouble of learning to role play is knowing when and how, right, to do it. And something,
Direction.
yeah, and something like this is literally giving you neutral directions, right? It's saying, "Hey, this is what the game engine says we need to do," and then you get to practice those quote unquote acting skills, right, of role playing out that particular outcome. And I just think that's really cool, and it took me some real open-minded thinking to kind of reach this place with the influence system. But now that I'm here, I really like it. We're too far along in Curse of Strahd, and I'm too far along in my leaving of 5e for me to try and make a system in 5e that simulates this. But damn, if I knew about this before running that campaign, hell, if I knew about this before running any of my D&D campaigns, there's been dinners in a certain Greek campaign that were pretty tense, right? That could have benefited from something like this. This isn't just for dinners, though. This could be like, this could be anything. This could just be you're in a courtroom. This could be used in a courtroom because you got to influence the judge. You got to influence the jury. You might have the jury described to you, and now during the court case, you're presenting just as much to the judge as you are to the jury to try and sway the jury one way or the other. That'd be an amazing place to use the influence system. Would be a courtroom. I don't know if you remember the Skull and Shackles. They had that really rough. They had a couple. They had two different legal adventures.
Yep.
Yeah, and like that would have been so cool to actually have a meaningful way to do it instead of just winging it and relying on me to make the decision based on everything that I thought was happening. Yeah.
Like you can also do this too, as like say there's a moment where like there could be and sometimes you might be able to use this system in lieu of combat if the party wants to try and do something different. Like, and that because you have to do a little bit of work to try and figure out what the discoveries are and what the things are for the NPCs that are involved. But like say the group stumbles across a group of barbarians out in the wilderness as their exploration, right? I'll give you a Kingmaker example, and they don't want to just fight them, or like fight might break out. Maybe this influence system, like you guys have a couple rounds of talking to each other to see if you can get enough points to be okay. Let's have a parlay instead of a fight.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to make it tense, you could say anytime you have 5 minutes to convince these guys not to fight, but every round is a minute. Yep. But if any of you critically fail, you lose a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh, tension. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Tension right there.
Yeah.
Like it sounds so dumb that we're like, no, you guys, seriously, this is cool. Like this is going to make things so much cooler for you. But like it is. Like this is a very good subsystem.
And it's very scalable in terms of how short and how big you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, sweet. Well, that's me. That's my favorite one that I've tried so far is influence. What?
Dang it.
What?
That was gonna be my favorite too. But okay.
Okay. So what's your second? What's your second favorite then? What's your
So the
second?
second one that I learned, I mean, I really like the chase
Okay.
system, but instead of talking about that one, I'll talk about the dueling.
Okay. Yeah, I would love for you to talk
Duel.
about the dueling because I don't know anything about that one.
Okay, so the dueling system, it's for whenever you have those one-on-one fights between between a
Oh,
player and an NPC.
those are miserable. Those are
Yep.
miserable to watch in 5e. Two barbarians fighting each other. Like, all right, I'm gonna go pick up a pizza. I'll be back
Yep.
in 45 minutes, I guess. All
Yeah.
right. So
So
how does it go?
so the way it works is that it kind of works like a normal combat between one and one person. But what they do is they add a little bit of extra abilities that you have access because you're in a one-on-one fight.
Hmm.
And those abilities also have to do with rolling initiative, which you end up doing every round.
Mm.
So the way it works is, you can roll initiative. So the way they set it up is that whenever you're about to do a duel, hopefully there's some type of rules set up for the duel, right? So you can have a combat only duel with no magic, a magic only duel, or a combination of both. And based off of which type of duel it is, if it matters in this case, you use a different subsystem, a slightly modified version of this subsystem. When you but it kind of revolves around rolling initiative. So if it's a combat only duel, you can roll initiative with deception, you can roll initiative with intimidation, or you can roll initiative with, I believe the other one is normal perception. Let me see if I can remember them.
I got it right here. Initiative and dueling.
Yeah, initiative and
Deception,
dueling.
intelligence, and perception.
Yeah, perception. So that's a normal combat duel, and depending on and you're not supposed to know which skill you rolled. Each side doesn't know which skill you rolled, and you get a special reaction depending on what initiative you use.
Oh,
and it's kind of
so
like
it's paper, rock, scissors. It's paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like paper, rock, scissors. Yep. And so not only do you have you're doing your normal combat stuff, but you also have this paper, rock, scissors that is affected based off of which initiative you rolled.
Nice.
So like, even though you might have a disadvantage in fighting this person, but if you were able to like roll the right initiative and then have the right reaction, you might save yourself from their next attack, and that'll help you with this thing. And then they continue it over. If you have a magic duel, you add the magic casting skills in those initiatives.
Spellcasting duels. Okay.
Yep, and they also have their own ability of counteracting people's spellcasting while they're having that duel,
nice.
Based off of the skills that you picked. And then the combination, they pretty much just smash the two together. So you can either choose to have a physical one or a magical one, and hopefully, if they're casting a magical ability, you can see why I had to figure out about this one when you're going to a magic school.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the main thing I liked about it is that it kind of it adds a little bit of extra flavor to it, to dueling, rather than just watching each other stand next to each other and fight. There's a little bit of like, okay, what did they roll? What did I roll? Okay, let's see, and then going through it. So I think my only downside about this is that they don't seem to have anything to introduce how other party members can be involved.
Oh, like how when we homebrew stuff like this in 5e, I'll have like an audience action, like they can
an audience action.
They can cheer or boo or things like that. Yeah, I feel like keeping it tame, obviously keeping it tame.
Yeah,
you could do essentially like an aid action. You know what I'm saying? I think that could probably work. Yeah.
That can work.
Yeah.
They do have it set up that you can have a duel with be like two people versus two other people and use the same dueling stuff. So honestly, you could end up having like one party fights another party and set it up as a duel.
So how do you win a duel? Like, is actual damage being dealt, or are you earning points?
So there's actual damage being dealt. You can, if that's how the duel is set up. Sometimes it depends on. They say that it really depends on what the fiction for the duel is set up. If it's like first blood,
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
first.
you're driving go-karts and you got 3 balloons attached to the go-kart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all depends on what the
Okay. Okay.
it all depends on what the thing is set up, and they say make sure you. That's why they at the beginning they say you need to set up what your duel is in terms of the limitations, the durations, and how it's being
Right.
abjure what are the
Adjudicated.
rules adjudicated. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
If you hit, your opponent becomes frightened. 1. Okay, so it is straight up like they're fighting each other. So
They're fighting each other. Yes.
so there's still that tight math Pathfinder combat situation, right? So if you challenge someone way stronger than you to a duel, dueling is not how you're going to get around the fact that that guy is 3 levels higher than you.
Yes, it's not.
Yeah,
no,
you're still going to be
influence system.
you're still going to be decimated. You're going to be decimated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it also introduces the wild card of the Pathfinder 2E critical hit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a one-on-one duel and you land that sweet 40 plus damage hit, that might be the end of the duel. You might have just one shot. Yeah, you might have just one shot at that dude. Especially if it's a non-magic duel, so they have no healing, right? Or they limited resources and they said no healing potions, no recovery, like you fight till you die. I like that. I also like the idea, and this is something that just never occurred to me in D&D, the infamous Critical Role scene from Series 1 Critical Role where 2 barbarians fought each other for 2.5 hours while everyone else watched these 2 barbarians fight each other, which in the show ended up being like a 5-minute scene, but for us people that were there, it was 2.5 hours of 2 barbarians just punching each other with resistance. It was horrible. You could do stuff like, hey, you guys are equally matched in every way, so it's going to be the first to 3 hits, right? It's just going to be the first to 3 hits. No damage. It's just the first to 3 hits. You guys are so strong and so tanky. We're not going to sit here and watch this heavyweight match go into round 10 where you're just hugging on each other. It's the first to 3 hits. Like they'll agree to the duel, but it's the first to 3 hits. That's pretty cool. Also, just listening to this, I can think of many opportunities to have duels that are not combat duels. Sadly, the first one that comes to mind, you may recall a game called Baldur's Gate 3, where you and I wandered off in a certain hell palace.
I see.
Right? And somebody was literally fucking for their life, right? They were like having to throw down a booty call for their soul. How perfect. I mean, I know it sounds pretty bad, but how perfect to turn that into a dual minigame. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Baldur's Gate 3, they made it a skill challenge, which is fine, right? They made it a skill challenge. But, like, how much more interesting if it had been a duel? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're delivering your skill versus them delivering their skill, your willpower and constitution versus their willpower and fortitude kind of thing. Like wow, right? Or 2 bards having a bard off, right? Yeah, 2 bards want to have a, like a bard off at a local tavern. You could make it more than just each of them rolls performance and who does best. You could have an actual duel where they are playing actively against each other, performing actively against each other, and you have like a little mini game kind of built in for that. Like there's a lot of potential here for things. If you wanted to have a little bit,
I could think of a way, like if we did the bard off, right?
Yeah.
And I would probably, what you could probably do is use the spellcasting, the rules for the spellcasting duel where they have the dueling counter, and it could just be, most bards have a lot of lore and things that they like, because if you're having a song off, what are you saying in your song, and make people roll their initiative. You guys pick the same thing. Whoever rolled higher gets to go first, so they'll do the thing, and then when this person goes next, they can use this counter, and it could be like, we're both talking about the same thing, but I talked about it first.
Yeah. I mean, you need inspiration. Famous rap battles of history. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Yeah. That's a dueling bard off right there. In chat, Kurdic Muffin said gunslinger duels. Here's how I would do gunslinger duels. one shot, one kill. All right. So you roll. Initiative is fine, right? I would give whoever won initiative a circumstance bonus to add to their attack roll, but essentially whoever had the higher attack roll would just win the duel. It
I
sounds
mean,
it sounds anticlimactic to have it be a single roll,
so
but like the whole vibe, right, of like a gunslinger duel where they start back to back, they walk 50 paces, they turn and shoot each other. It's one shot, right? Like
I mean,
historically and in media. Yeah.
if you use these rules, depending on which initiative they use to roll, say
Yeah.
they roll bad, but like they got the one where you like do the sidestep right at the end, right at the
Yeah,
attack.
yeah.
So like if if it worked and like yeah you lost initiative, but you did this. You won the rock paper scissors, so like yeah they got the first shot, but they might have missed because you used this,
Yeah.
that that's a sidestep thing, and then now you can take your shot.
Yeah. Or I guess not like one roll, but I would say like the first to a hit in a gunslinger.
That's what I'm saying.
duel.
Yeah. The
So,
first for the hit.
yeah. So if
But
you
like
had
this would help you
to
now.
go into if both missed, obviously you'd go into another round, but it is a race to be the first one to land that hit. I mean that is so thematic and so cool, and it's so much more than just roll initiative. Well, they won initiative, they take a shot at you. Oh, they hit. That's the end of the duel. Or oh, they take a shot at you, they miss. Okay, it's your turn. You shoot, you hit. That's the end of the duel. Like this adds a little bit more to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Also, talk about cinematically raising the stakes. Okay, what if you have a gun duel, right? A gunslinger duel to the death, right? But there's no hit points. Whoever gets that first hit, you killed that person. Like, if that was the world you were living in, would you really be dueling everybody, right? Because think about it, in all the media for westerns and stuff like that, you don't just duel lightly. You know what I'm saying? You don't just throw down a gun duel lightly. Like, because that's it. Like life or death. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to the middle of town, everyone's watching. That's it. And then they have stuff about being dishonorable up here at the top, about like automatically losing a duel and stuff like that. I love that too, right? Because like they've had people in in gunfights where oh, was it 50 paces? My bad, I thought it was 30. I killed you, shot you in the back. Like those people went,
I remember there was a
those
meme.
people
There was a
go
meme
down in history. Those people go down in
Yeah.
history for how dishonorable they were. Yeah. Oh man.
I remember there was a meme that somebody put out. I was like, "I'll see you at high noon," and then apparently it was daylight saving, so they showed up. They just shot him in the middle of the street.
Wow. Incredible. All right. Yeah, I like these. I like these a lot. I really need to spend the time to learn all these subsystems because they could really come in handy for just mixing it up a little bit. Just mixing it up a little bit. Of the ones that I've tried, Victory Points it's obviously just skill challenge. If you're familiar with 4E skill challenge or all of the different homebrew 5E skill challenges that have been invented, it's that's what it is. That's what it is. And that's cool and all. And their adventures always find opportunities to kind of sneak these in, which is cool. For Outlaws, there was a system called Scout a Route, which they had to learn the city, right? Like that for a mission that they were going to do, which I thought was actually pretty cool because you never really think about that. But when you're playing a game like Overwatch or whatever, and you got to do an escort mission, obviously knowing the layout of the city that you are escorting the payload through is going to be beneficial because you're going to know where all the snipers might be. You're going to know where all the ambush points are. You're going to know where the chokeholds are, right? So I thought that was actually very smart and well done by the writers to include that as preparation for this particular mission, was like learning the layout of that city district so that you would be, better equipped to deal with it. And the more points that you earned, the more benefits you had for the rest of the adventure, right? Because you were banking boons essentially for later on in the adventure. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and there's there's so many good ways to use this. Butler Log points out these victory point systems are very hit and miss. Sometimes it is great and sometimes it is ass. So going with the same example of scouting the city, I have been trying very hard since this is my first Pathfinder campaign to be as raw as possible. And so they basically told me, like, this is a custom skill that we want them to use. And it only really supports these things. And I felt like a real asshole because in both groups, the players were like, but what if I had an imagination? And what if I tried to bullshit you that I could be able to do this instead? And I'm like, that's cool, but for this challenge, really just need you to do one of these 5 things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like we're asking for much to just get you guys to do these 5 things. Just grind out the rolls, and we'll add up the points. I felt one that just roll the damn dice so we can move on with the game. It's not that big a deal. But I could also feel where they were coming from, because if I had made a character, and Pathfinder characters, especially at low level, they don't have as many options as you might expect, and yet they haven't come online, I would feel pretty bad, right? Because if you roll and do badly, you actually can screw up these challenges. So, like, when you're told, like, hey, I need you to roll one of these 5 things, they're all things that you suck at. By the way, if you do bad, you're going to let everyone else in the team down. Like, that feels bad, right? That feels really bad.
Yeah.
Now, I have learned since then that you can give players like that the opportunity to essentially pass on their turn, and then they could do
or aid.
I'm saying they pass on their turn and then aid, right? So they don't roll to succeed, but they don't also roll to fail, right? They're kind of like they're excusing themselves from the challenge, and they're going to help instead. So that's less chances to succeed, but it's also less chances to fail. And it means that the remaining chances, one of them might be better than it was before, because they're going to aid instead, especially with the reduced 15 aid from revised. There's a good chance that they'll have some bullshit that they can pull out. And that is where the bullshit comes in, right? So when the players are like, but I don't want to do any of these 5 things. I don't want to do that. I'm like, it's like, cool, then you're not going to roll, and you can bullshit any skill you want now. Tell me what... I'm strong. I pick up something heavy to help. It's like, sure you do. Okay, so roll the die. All right, great. You got a 20. That's amazing. This guy gets a +1. You're helping. Yay. Like, now that I know that that's like an option, I think that there's a better, they feel a little bit better to me. They feel a little bit more open. Yeah. So... Butler also says, I bet if I open the GM's guide, it'll say under this entry, you can allow other things but expect a higher DC. And that is true. I'm sure if we scroll down somewhere around here, it will say you can allow the, let's see, this might include the DC, number of chances, include the amount of effort, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I did eventually, I think for one or both of the groups say, okay, if you want to do this, you can, but it's going to be a higher DC. And at that point, the DC is, in my opinion, so prohibitively high that you're honestly, even though you're quote-unquote good at that thing and you've bullshitted the chance to use it, you still probably shouldn't risk it. You should just help them with the, aid action. But yeah, it's the skeleton of a skill check system, and I think it's good. I think that now that I'm getting more familiar with Pathfinder, I would definitely adjust these to be similar to what I used for 5e. So I would have diminishing returns. I would have I would have secret skills that they don't know ahead of time that have a much lower DC. So like I would describe the challenge to them, but unlike the Pathfinder thing, I wouldn't say, oh, if you use this, this, and this, the DCs are this, and if you use this and this, the DCs are that. I would just describe the challenge. They could use anything they want. And then I would say, okay, well, for this particular challenge, where you're trying to like calm down a water buffalo, I just don't see how lore librarian is going to help you here. So I mean, you can roll it, but it's going to be a very high DC kind of thing. But if they said like, oh, well, I'll use nature, like ding ding ding, nature's one of the 3 skills for this challenge, it's got a stupid low DC. It's got a stupid low
the
DC.
Presentation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still the same thing, but just presented slightly different. So
yeah.
well, easier to
So
get yourself into it.
that's how I would do it. I would not tell them up front what they can and can't do. I would have like at least three skills for every challenge that are the sweet spot, and then they, through just paying attention and intuiting it, right, they could kind of figure out. And maybe you add that discovery action from the influence challenge
Hmm.
over on your skill challenge, right? Where,
Yeah.
hey, before I even roll, can I get a better sense of what's going to work here? And it's like, hey, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, okay, go ahead and yeah, let's figure that out. So
I mean,
like, yeah,
that would be a cool thing to do. Like don't tell them anything about how to get through this challenge, but
yeah.
have one person who's just good at perception or just good at something like that do discovery, and they're like, okay, looking at this situation, this and this might work. You can let the rest of the party know.
Well, the perfect thing for that discovery check, that is where you bring in those lore checks, right?
Hmm.
Right? Like, oh, we got this crazed water buffalo. Okay, I have,
Oh, I have water buffalo lore.
yeah, I have water buffalo lore. It's my moment. It's my time to shine. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
finally,
Yep.
I can be a hero. I have bovine husbandry lore. This is my chance. Yeah. So like that, I think, is going to be a much more exciting way to do it, and I am getting more and more excited about Pathfinder as I become more and more familiar with the systems and more confident in my ability to change those systems. And I owe it all to that spider, but we're not going to talk about her too much because she, she's shy. I don't want to talk about her too much, but there's a very special lady out there, very special spider. She changed my life, my Pathfinder life. So thank you, girl. Thank you. Anyways, so what other systems do you want to talk about? Well, let's see. We got a little
One
bit of time.
system,
We got a little
one,
bit of time.
one system I want to learn about,
Uh huh.
but I haven't touched it at all, is the infiltration one. Because how many times have you had like, hey, we want to sneak in
All right.
to this place,
Well,
or we
you know
want to?
what? We got 14 minutes. We're gonna learn about it right now. Here we go.
All right.
Infiltration. Not all elements of an adventure can be resolved with force of arms and the sizzle of deadly magic. Sometimes subtlety is required to circumvent foes or accomplish a goal. When the characters need to rely on improvisation and fast thinking to infiltrate a stronghold or organization to save the day, the infiltration subsystem provides a framework for those adventures. An infiltration requires the heroes to employ guile and subtlety to achieve one or more objectives without directly confronting their enemies. The PC's goal might be sneaking into a den of thieves to relieve them of their ill-gotten gains, navigating a winding passage of a city watch headquarters to break a friend out of prison, or putting themselves in just the right spot to snatch up the right person or the correct item at just the right time. Whatever the case, the heroes are working to avoid drawing the attention of an opposing party, such as the members of the Thieves Guild, the prison guard, or the uninvited guests at an upscale gala. Should the heroes draw too much attention, they might be attacked, arrested, or thrown out, in any case, blocked from accomplishing their goal. And infiltration is fundamentally a role-play activity. Players narrate their characters' actions in response to situations around them, and the infiltration subsystem provides a framework to measure incremental success within the overall endeavor. An infiltration takes place over the course of multiple rounds, though it's up to you to determine how long a round is. One round might be 10 minutes or 1 hour. It is something completely different depending on the story and the group's preferences. Okay, I get that. Right
Hmm.
away, I remember a YouTube comment because I read all the comments and I internalize them for the rest of my life. Anyways, so I remember reading a comment about High Noon because High Noon decided to go to a person's house and try to steal from that person in their house. And I did not know about the infiltration system, so I did what any Dungeons and Dragons person would do, and I was like, here's the house. And they're like, okay, most of us are terrible at this. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. And so they go to do it, and inevitably, right,
Dungeon.
somebody rolls a bad die roll, and we're in combat, right? And then people getting shot, heads are getting blown off, like it's just a mess, right? Alarms are being sounded, the whole deal. But if the party had told me, right, hey man, we literally just want to go in, get item X, and leave, right? I could have just run an infiltration mission.
Hmm.
Right? And then that person, that NPC, she might still be alive today. You know, like I killed that woman inadvertently by not having this information. So, yeah, yeah. Anyways, so building an infiltration. When creating an infiltration, you want to start with the party's broad goals. We want to get X out of this lady's house. And an idea of how much time you and your players want to spend. We just want to get in and out. 20 minutes or less, Morty. No more. That's it. Quick adventure. Just go in and grab X and leave. The more complex an infiltration, the longer it will take to play out at the table.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so setting the infiltration skills in DC, many of the sample infiltration activities and events give a DC range instead of a fixed DC. Set the DC based on the standard DC of the party level using the tables that we have everywhere. Adjust them as you see fit. When given a range of skills for an activity or event, you should vary the difficulty based on the needs of the story. So for an instance, if a PC is scouting a location, you might want to use a low DC for stealth because it's easier to scout unnoticed because you can do it from a distance. A hard one for perception because while the PCs might see the enemies might see them as well. And very hard DC for society because walking in like you belong there is difficult if you don't have an invitation or the right uniform. This not only adds a certain degree of plausibility, but by planning for and allowing a broad range of skills as means to accomplish activity, you also become better prepared for when your players improvise. Now, I am a graduate of Dragon Heist, which is the least heisty heist adventure you could ever have. And thinking about it, these would be great rules for the quote-unquote heist that we went on in Dragon Heist, because it was very frequently, we just need to go in that house, and we just need to get this thing, and we need to leave. Or we got to go to this party, and we got to pickpocket this one person at the party. And I think it would be so much more Ocean's 11, right? Like so much more interesting to go around the table using initiative to kind of describe with some Paris rooftops playing in the background. You know what I'm saying? How is this heist going? How are we doing on the heist, guys? I also think having like a subsystem of heist tokens, right? Where like you could say like, okay, obviously you don't have to plan everything in advance.
You know your heist token is a hero point.
Oh, that's good. That's good right there. Spend a hero point. Spend a hero point to get to trade in for a heist token. Heist token means, oh, did I not tell you that I had a fake ID made? Yeah, I had a fake ID made. It's right here. Like that is cool. I really like that. I love that corrective storytelling of whenever they're talking about the heist, but then they show the heist in action and the heist is happening. Like I'm picturing that as they are going through this challenge. Building an infiltration. For most infiltrations, you'll want to detail the site or group the PC is trying to infiltrate. This might involve mapping a building or fleshing out NPCs within the organization, or most likely both. You likely need to know if the party's objectives, what they are before you can decide on these details, but knowing this information can help you brainstorm obstacles, opportunities, and complications of the infiltration itself. Or if you have the time, you could build a list of things to pull from ahead of time, like a random table, you might say, of things that might happen to cock up a heist. I mean, I'm just saying. All right. Also, with details on the site and its adversaries, you can more confidently improvise when the players do something unexpected. Wow, this is actually a very complicated. Oh my god! I don't think we're gonna.
I don't think we're going down. And I just saw they even add more like downtime activities. You could do scout a location, secure disguises, gain contacts.
Oh, here they are. Edge points. So this is what I'm talking about. These heist points, edge points.
Yeah.
These are done by actually preparing in advance for your infiltration. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Man, very cool. It's obviously too much for us to read in the 5 minutes we have left, but
yeah, 5 minutes. But I'm gonna take another look at I'm gonna take a look at these because even I don't know when I'm gonna actually use them, but I don't know. I don't know what the players are gonna do. I don't know what the players are gonna do.
You got a magic school. It's got a library. That library, it's got a restricted section. Like, there you go.
Honestly,
right?
Yeah, there might be a moment. There might be a moment where they're gonna try and steal something.
Yeah,
we'll see.
they got. I don't know how Hogwarts it is, but they got rival houses. You know what I'm saying? You might want to steal the other house's mascot, or you might want to go in there and like prank them or whatever. This could be done for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. There's a lot of places where this could be used. So, what comes to mind, I don't know if you remember, we played this game together called Baldur's Gate 3. So, let's say there's
same location.
well, actually, yes. That's the same. Okay. So there was a group of adventurers who had to go on a heist. Like literally, they were supposed to go in and get this thing and leave, right? But then the camera cuts to the whole place being on fire. Camomile's walking funny for some reason. You're running, your character's running around in his underpants, just covered in blood. Like, it did not go according to plan. Why? Because we didn't have a plan. Because we couldn't make a plan. Because that's just not how the game was set up. But like, damned if there was ever a place in that game where we should have had a chance to do like a heist, that would have been it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So like, I could just, there's like a lot of potential here. There's a lot of potential here. And it's so important. I can't stress this enough to people. I run and play too many games. And a lot of the people on my Discord server, they run and they play too many games. And sometimes we burn ourselves out. And I think that part of that burnout is the gameplay loops become too repetitive. These subsystems give you a chance to cleanse that palette. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not everything has to be a grid-based combat, is what they're trying to say. Not everything has to be the less skilled or less interested role players mute their mic and grind some MMO in the background while they listen half-heartedly to the theater kids do yet another roleplay scene, right? Like, these are opportunities to create engaging encounters that are mechanically tied to the characters that the players have built, so that there is an investment from the player at every level of it, right? Sometimes more than others, but more so than it being sort of loose and free form. It still feels like you're playing a game. It still feels like you're playing the same game, but you have a different gameplay loop. I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's the only Assassin's Creed I've played. I played it as research to run the Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign. I had no real idea what to expect, and I was like, wow, you can do 3 things in this game. There's 3 different things that I could do in this game, and that's it. That's the whole game. For 60 hours, I could do the same 3 things. 3 gameplay loops for the entire game. And not a great story either. So I still enjoyed the hell out of the game because it was cool and it was immersive in the world itself and it's beautiful and all that. But yeah, you do 3 things. If you think about it, without these subsystems, there's maybe 3 things that you do in Pathfinder. It is very important to learn these things, embrace these things, and understand that these are part of the game. These are other gameplay loops that you can insert into the game for variety's sake, just to keep yourself from just feeling like I'm doing the same thing every time, right? It's a grid-based fight over and over and over and over and over again. I am coming around to this idea, I hope, soon enough to make a difference. Because I don't want every session to just feel like we're moving from one grid-based encounter to another, especially now that I know there are these other gameplay loops to introduce. So, yeah.
Oh man, I just thought of something. If you combine this infiltration system with the influence system, you're at a party and Ocean's 11 all over. Like, I'm just thinking, like, I might make a heist one shot that uses these systems.
Yeah, like, and here's the thing. It's still Pathfinder, guys. It's still going to be, there's still always place for grid-based, turn-based combat, right?
1,000%. That's Pathfinder.
Yeah. And also, here's the thing. There's also a place for railroading, okay? You do the heist perfectly, Ocean's 11, baby. You're in the Bugatti or Bugatti, whatever. You're in the Bellagio. You're in the Bellagio safe. You got all the money. Yeah, you did it. And then the Guardian inside the safe activates. And now and there you go. Now we're back to Pathfinder, baby. But
And then
like, yeah,
you have your 5 rounds of combat, which is only like a couple seconds, you know.
yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's time for a chase scene to get out.
And now it's a chase scene to get out. Yeah, or now it's another infiltration, but it's reverse infiltration. Now we got to get out of this. Now we get out of here.
Yep.
Yeah. So like,
Yep.
there are plenty of opportunities to do this. And then you do get out, and now you have a vehicle scene. Because you gotta escape. You gotta escape from the scene of the crime, and now you got a combination vehicle chase scene. Like, there's so much potential here to mix and match these things, to customize them, to just keep the game fresh. Just keep the game fresh. So, all right, good talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, quick announcements. I got high noon tomorrow morning, but after that, I'll be playing and streaming 12 hours of Extra Life charity, aka we're gonna be playing Sea of Thieves on a community weekend. But I'll talk about Extra Life a lot, and I'll have a link if you wanted to like donate because you think it's cool that we're playing Pirates for 12 hours. If you want to play with us, and be on the stream and everything else, you certainly can. That would be great. If you just want to go fight for democracy against bugs and robots, I won't judge you. It seems like you're all having a great time doing that. That's fine. But, you can take a break, play some pirates, just fine too. And then all our normal games on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, all that kind of stuff. Dom, you have an announcement about Tuesday? Something big happening? Some sort of Cyberpunk thing is happening on Tuesday?
So yeah, Cyberpunk is getting real close to its end. It may be the last session to it could be. It's possible. I don't think it's going to be it, but it is possible that it could be the final session, depending on what decisions they make. But I'm thinking at maybe 2-3 sessions. 2 sessions to finish, and then 1 session for epilogues. That's what I'm thinking.
Nice.
But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see what decisions they make. But yeah, they're getting close to the end. I've been laying down little breadcrumbs from the beginning of the first session, and they're finally seeing the threads connect, and so they're like, "What the heck?" So that one time we just did that one-off thing, it actually might lead to this. So like, it's been very satisfying for me as a GM, being like, yeah, I've been leaving all these crumbs for you as like one-off comments, and seeing them all being coming together here at the end.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope everybody has a great weekend doing whatever you're doing, and stay safe and healthy and all that jazz. We'll probably be back next Friday to do another VodCast. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Take care.